AEW Summer Blockbuster. Here is my review on this show. Thankfully, this is the last 4-hour show, so thank goodness we don't have to worry about 4-hour shows anymore. Because I will be honest, I was not exactly the biggest fan of these shows being 4 hours long. Like, look, I can watch some wrestling, but watching it for 4 hours is not exactly my thing. Like, I don't usually, I can barely tolerate SmackDown for 3 hours. I can barely tolerate a SmackDown for 3 hours. 2 hours is good enough for me. 2 hours of wrestling is usually good enough for me. So, just like before, it was divided into Dynamite and Collision. It was divided into 2 shows. So, I will do the best I can to... I basically had to look where everything was. Like, just like last time, I basically watched the segments and I had to see where the commentators' desk, because you'd see the logo on their desk. So I basically had to look for the logo on the desk to know where these matches were taking place, if they were on Dynamite or Collision. And also, they didn't show every match. I actually realized Wikipedia actually had the whole match card available. So I was able to basically look up if I missed anything, because in my last review, I did miss a few matches because they didn't put it up on YouTube. They didn't put them up on YouTube, so I made sure to double check everything. I made sure to double check everything. Right, so let's get on with it now. The show starts off with Will Osprey and Swerve Strickland, the aerial assassin, Will Osprey and Swerve. So these guys had a 30-minute match. And that's basically it. No winner. The match went to a 30-minute time limit with no winner. I guess this is just their way of protecting wrestlers. I guess that's their way of protecting wrestlers instead of having someone run down for a DQ. But yeah, it was a good match with no real winner happened here. No real winner. Swerve wanted to go to sudden death. He wanted to go to sudden death and restart the match. But Death Riders interrupted. They came out, and so did the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks attacked Swerve, and they put some spiky shoes on. They were going to put some spiky shoes on and super kick Swerve in the face with some spiky shoes. But Will Osprey sacrificed himself and took the blow for Swerve. So very honourable thing there for Mr. Osprey. Mystico, the former Sin Cara to all the WWE fans, he took on Blake Christian. The only highlight of this guy's career is that he used to date Cora Jade. That's really the only real highlight of this guy I ever really know. That's really the only thing about this guy I know, that he used to date Cora Jade. But Mystico got the win with the Spanish fly off the top rope, and then they hurt people, they hurt people. Hurt Syndicate came down, and they did their usual shtick. And MJF kind of promo on Mystico, and then Mystico, he brought down the American flag. He was bringing back his American champion gimmick that he had briefly. I think he had that gimmick when he was the international champion. And I think he had that gimmick when he was the international champion. But he's bringing that gimmick back just for this match against Mystico. And then Mystico proceeded to call him something in Spanish. And MJF walked back over to MJF and he was like, "What the hell did he just call me?" And then MVP told him what he called him. And then MJF proceeded to walk back to possibly deliver line of the night for me. Probably the thing that cracked me up laughing is that MJF walked back to Mystico and said, and called him it says that he doesn't see Mystico. He says he's not staring at Mystico, he's staring at sloppy Sin Cara. So hilarious. That was so hilarious. I was just like, because when I heard he was going after Mystico, I was like, wait, didn't he used to be Sin Cara? And then when a friend of mine told me he was, I was like, oh, I really hope MJF brings up he was Sin Cara. I'm so glad about that. But yeah, really hilarious stuff there. I thought that was hilarious that he brought up Sin Cara. And then Hurt Syndicate would proceed to beat him up 3-on-1. And that was until Jet Speedball Mike Bailey and his cronies come out to make the save, which leads into that match. That leads into Hurt Syndicate, Lashley, Benjamin, and MJF defeating Jet Speed of Speedball Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Masakara Dorado. I think that's how you say the name. But yeah, couldn't say I really cared about this match. Couldn't say I really cared about this one, if I'm being completely honest. The Death Riders would assault Hangman Page. Jon Moxley talks to Hangman. The crowd begin to chant "Shut the F up" at Moxley as Moxley is cutting a promo on Hangman, and Hangman would deliver a headbutt to Moxley as he's being handcuffed, and had his mouth taped, and he had his mouth taped as well. So yeah, and then the Ops come to his rescue. Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and some other guy. I couldn't remember who the other guy was. But yeah, they're the trios. They are the 6-man tag team champions. If there's any title that I kind of consider pretty useless in AEW, that would be the title. I'm not the biggest fan of a trios tag team championships, but I guess because they've got so many damn stables and factions, that was probably the only reason why they created the belts, because they had so many darn factions. But yeah, if there's one title I would wish AEW would get rid of, I think that title would definitely be one of them. Kenny Omega and Okada have their contract signing, and I have to be honest, this was a very good contract signing. It was very good, and honestly, this has potential to be one of the best matches on the show. Like, yes, I've never watched any of their matches in New Japan. I have heard these two guys have so much history because of their time in New Japan, but I just know this match could have a lot of potential to be a really good one. Like, I am aware of Okada. Like, I've seen how good this guy is. I've seen how good Okada actually is. And apparently both of their titles are going to be on the line, which is what I expected. To be honest, I kind of expected that both of their titles are going to be on the line. But apparently they're going to be winning a brand new belt. Whoever wins a brand new belt called the AEW Unified Champion. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know, like, it's kind of difficult. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent about this. Like, yeah, I don't think people would want to see Omega and Okada carrying two championships. But I don't know. Like, the Continental title hasn't even existed for very long, I don't think. Like, I think Okada is the only champion. I think Okada's like the only champion in that title's history. So I don't know. Like, I don't really know how I feel about a new belt being introduced for this match, but I guess maybe we'll see how it goes. But the thing looks so small. Like, the thing looks so small. Like, I saw the size of the belt. Like, it looked so small. It kind of reminded me of the original AEW Women's Championship. Because I remember the AEW Women's Championship was a lot smaller I think when Ryu had it. I think when the first champion Ryu had it. I think it was like really darn small because I remember that because I remember they had like a smaller design. I think Rio and Britt Baker had it. It was like a more smaller design. I don't know when this bigger one they had came into it, but I think they originally had a much smaller belt. And this unified belt kind of reminds me of that, when AEW's women's title used to be a lot smaller. So, but yeah. I don't really know how I feel about a new belt as a way to unify their titles, but I guess we'll see how it goes. Ty Anna Jay and Ty Mello reunite to take on Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. I know I'm probably butchering her name wrong, and I really do apologize for those who are offended that I keep getting her name wrong. But yeah, it's nice to see Ty Mello back. It's her first match in nearly 2 years. It's her first match back in basically almost 2 years. And apparently her last match was in January of 2023, so it's technically been 2 years since we've last seen Ty Mello. And this was the main event of Dynamite, by the way. This tag team match was the main event. And I gotta be honest, I was genuinely surprised. This was the main event. Like, I definitely thought like the Okada Omega thing would main event, or what happened with Death Riders and Hangman could have main evented, but hey, you know, having the women main event Dynamite was pretty cool. It's really cool to see the women main event here, but overall, this tag team match was alright. It was alright. Penelope Ford is kind of matching her gear with Megan Bayne, and Ty J would win the match. Ty Mello would pin Penelope Ford, and secure the win. So yeah, nice win there for Ty Mello and Anna Jay, and hopefully when they introduce those tag team titles, if they are ever going to introduce a women's tag team titles for their tag team division, if they are ever going to do that, I would definitely put my money on Anna Jay and Ty Mello being the first champions, because I think that would make perfect sense. Now we're going to jump over to Collision. We're going to be jumping over to Collision and seeing what happened over there. Show kicked off with Kyle Fletcher taking on Anthony Bowens. Anthony Bowens. I don't really know much about this Anthony Bowens, but Kyle Fletcher got the win here, and he proceeded to call out Adam Cole. Honestly, here's the thing. I know it may sound a little bit biased because I know Adam Cole recently just won the title not too long ago, but I would really like Kyle Fletcher to win the TNT title from Adam Cole, because I think Kyle Fletcher is so darn good, man. Like, I'm not saying this just because he's Australian, but man, I think Kyle Fletcher would be a great TNT champion. I think he'd make a great TNT champion, and I think it would elevate him in a bigger way. I'm not saying Adam Cole's a bad champion and he hasn't done anything with the belt, but to be fair, he hasn't done much with the belt, and yes, that's not his fault. And yeah, that is not Adam's fault. But at the same time, I think Kyle Fletcher would be a good candidate to dethrone Adam Cole. I think he'd be a good candidate to do it, and it would elevate him in a big way. I don't see it happening, to be honest. I don't really see it happening, but yeah, I think Kyle Fletcher and Adam Cole is definitely a match I'm looking forward to for the TNT Championship, and especially if Kyle Fletcher wins the championship. It's time for timeless Toni Storm and Julia Hart, as Mercedes Moné is at ringside watching this match. Julia Hart and Toni Storm have a decent match. I don't know, every time I see Julia Hart, I think she looks kind of cute. I do think she looks really cute whenever I see Julia Hart. But yeah, these two had a decent little matchup here, and Toni Storm would win with a roll up. She would win with an inside cradle roll up on Julia Hart, and she didn't use her new finishing move to win the match. She was just an inside cradle roll up. Mercedes would get in Toni Storm's face, and she would kind of do the same thing that Toni Storm did to her last time, like sniff her face and rub her face all over her skin and all that, and then Mercedes would do the same thing back to Toni, and then she would whisper something in Toni's ear, and then she would proceed to slam her down, and then she would slam Toni down, and then she'd begin to beat her up until Mina Shirakawa made her way out to save her new friend. But as Mercedes was preparing to leave, she jumps from behind and attacks Mina Shirakawa from behind. And yeah, pretty cool stuff. And apparently Mercedes will also be challenging Mercedes will be having a title shot against the CMLL Women's Champion at the at Grand Slam Mexico. So yeah, I think Mercedes is probably going to be adding another belt to her collection. And we all know that's probably going to make probably that's going to make the entire internet incredibly angry and probably begin the Mercedes Hogan and she has creative control bullshit. Even though it's been denied many times, she doesn't have creative control in her contract, but people refuse to accept or believe she truly does indeed not have creative control. The only reason why people believe she does is because she jokingly said it on TMZ. She said it in a joking way on TMZ that she has creative control, and of course, people believe she actually does. Like, she said it in a joking manner, and of course, people believe she actually meant it. God, the internet fans are so gullible and so stupid. Time for a match I didn't really care all that much about. It's the oh god, I'm gonna butcher this. The Congo Marination. The Congo Marination. I'm not sure how you say that. Mark Briscoe and Tomohiro Ishii, if I said that name correctly, and Willow Nightingale. I didn't know she was a part of the faction, but okay. They took on MXM Collection, which is the former Maximum Male Models. Mansoor and Mason Madden. Mansoir and Marseille. As how Max Dupree used to say their names. Yep. Yep. Who would have thought AEW would sign the Maximum Male Models? Anyway, they teamed with Taya Valkyrie, who was and John Morrison was at ringside with them, or Johnny TV, as he calls himself. As he calls himself now. But I still call him John Morrison. But I'm still calling him John Morrison. And Mark Briscoe's team would ultimately win this. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't really care all that much for this. Like, not the biggest Will Nightingale fan, and obviously never really been a big fan of Taya Valkyrie either. So, yeah, this was definitely a match I really couldn't really care all that much about. Another match I didn't really care all that much about was Bandito. Bandito, he would defeat the Beast Moritos, I think that's how you say it. And yeah, didn't care all that much for that one. FTR had a segment with two boys by the name of Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. They came face to, I think that's right, Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. And yeah, that match never really got started because the Don Callis family and the Paragon would come out and attack. I don't really, I will be honest, I was kind of confused by that whole thing, but, you know, it's whatever. Oh god, they just said her name. I just watched the match and I heard them say her name, and now I'm gonna say it wrong again. Tequila took on Queen Aminata. God, I just heard them say her name, and now I'm probably gonna say it wrong. Tequila took on Queen Aminata here. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about Queen Aminata. Like, I've seen her a couple of times. She's alright. She's not bad. She's alright. She's not bad. I've seen some people think she's really good. She's not bad. She's decent. It might take some time for me. It may take some time for me to grow on her. Like, I'm not gonna like everybody, but you know, that's how it is. And Tequila, she's alright too. Like, she's definitely got. They're clearly building her up for a match with Jamie Hayter. They're clearly building her up for a match with Jamie Hayter because she attacked Jamie Hayter in her debut. So I wonder if they're gonna have Tequila defeat Jamie Hayter to give her like a big win, or if Jamie Hayter is gonna defeat her, and you know, all the hype and build up they've done for her up to this point will fall down the drain. But decent little match here. The Toxic Spider, Tequila, gets the win with the Death Trap on Queen Aminata. Yeah, that's what it's called, the Death Trap. Main event, it is the Don Callis family taking on Paragon and Daniel Garcia. Yeah, I know. It feels like we saw this match not too long ago. But Kyle Fletcher's not in this. It is Hachikero, Josh Alexander, Konosuke Tarashita, and Lance Archer. Man, oh man, this is a big-ass faction. Plus Kyle Fletcher, that's 5 people. That's a big-ass faction. So the Don Callis family would win. They would pin... Josh Alexander would pin Daniel Garcia. Not Daniel Garcia. What's his name? Roderick Strong. That's who he pinned. He pinned Roderick Strong. Yeah, I'm not going to be honest. This didn't feel like a great show. I mean, like, there was definitely some highlights on there. There were definitely some highlights, like the women. Like, I think the women were a highlight. Swerve, Osprey was pretty good. Moxley's segment with Hangman was pretty good. And obviously Toni and Mercedes, but didn't feel this one, to be honest. Just didn't feel this one. Again, 4-hour programs, a bit too much for me. Hopefully things get better when they go back to just being separate shows. Hopefully Dynamite and Collision can do things a bit better when they're back to being separate shows. And also a bit more easier for me to follow everything instead of having to look up everything just to make sure I'm, you know, not missing anything like last time. So, thank you all for watching, guys. Give me your thoughts down below, and I will see you all next time.